the first thing I wanted to cover today. Now, there is a YouTuber called Karlyn Borysenko who has made a bit of a name for herself with some pretty wild takes. Basically, she was a complete nobody, and then somewhere out of nowhere, she had some kind of beef with Vosh because she said that worker co-ops were bad for some reason. So they had this big kind of Twitter discussion where she said somehow the only reason Vosh was acting the way he was because he wanted to sleep with her. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But anyway, for some reason, the gods of the right wing funding sphere, I don't know whether it's Koch brothers or Wilkes brothers or whatever kind of financial backing she has, decided that she required some kind of YouTube career, so she wants a YouTube channel, gain some traction with that, which ended up getting her a slot on PragerU, where she had an incredibly amusing video, which she said the reason why she now supports Trump is because people in her knitting group were partisan towards the left, and she went to a Trump rally and people were nice to her, so now she completely, disregarded all of her left-wing principles. That's, how grifting works. As soon as somebody from PragerU offers you a big fat paycheck, suddenly you change a lot of your socioeconomic prescriptions. But anyway, started at the bottom, now she's at the top, right? Very recently, she went through an alarming Twitter thread, which I will now bring up on screen. I would like this particular. There we go. I believe that everyone always chooses to live or die. Everyone, always. Aborted children choose to be aborted. If they choose to be born into a human form in the future, they can. So no, I do not agree with this statement, because I do not have a Christian worldview. So the civilians who get hit by a drone strike chose to die. Yes, they do. Everyone who died in the Holocaust chose to die in the Holocaust before they were ever born, because they collective wanted to understand the experience of ultimate oppression. That's why Hitler went to heaven. So completely incomprehensible. I have no idea what's going on in a very, very, very small in any of these. Okay. So far, so strange, so wild, so off the rails, okay. Then she got called out by Hunter Avalone, who for some reason seems to keep featuring on this channel. I don't know why. Maybe because he's got enough clout that he gets to debate people with larger followings, because he was previously a conservative and now he's like kind of liberal or whatever. But he somehow has the clout to be able to get these people on his show, which ended up with this clip here, which kind of beggars belief, really. So let's watch.
I don't
Pretty sure Hitler
know.
was an
I don't
atheist.
know if he was or
Pretty
not.
sure Hitler
Because
was an
again, I'm
atheist.
not saying that
Your
this has
belief
happened.
system resulted in the Holocaust.
I'm not
Hitler
saying
was
that
an
this has
atheist, therefore
happened.
your belief system is justifying the Holocaust.
Karlyn, it's not really very fair to just talk over someone if you're trying to have a conversation
Well,
with them.
I'm playing by the rules you set, dude. I came into this conversation with good faith, ready to have a
I am
nice
being
little
extremely
conversation.
good faith.
You're
not
you're
letting
the one
me
saying
answer
that
questions
my
or
belief
ask questions.
system.
So I think what's preceded this is her saying somehow that the reason why she tweeted out those things is she has some spiritual belief that everyone has some kind of predetermined destiny that they spiritually, unconsciously choose for themselves, and that's why the victims of the Holocaust somehow chose to do it. I don't know, it's some new age nonsense. It makes no fucking sense, but continue.
Has justified something that's never happened, when I
No.
can point to the
You're putting
Holocaust and
words in
say
my
that
mouth again.
Hitler was an atheist,
You're
and
putting
therefore
words in my
your
mouth.
belief system justified the
First of
Holocaust.
all,
Congratulations.
okay, do I get
Your
a chance to
belief
talk?
Your belief
All
system
right, do you just
justified the murder
do you want
of
me to
6
just mute
million
you so you can
Jews.
finish
Cheers.
conversing? Like, again,
I think
Hitler's
I made my point.
atheism beliefs did not lead to anything to do with the Jewish genocide. Second of all,
really? Hitler held a belief system, and it didn't have anything to do with him killing 6 million Jews.
Karlyn,
sure.
you're putting words in my
Okay.
mouth again.
Oh, sure.
I did not say that your belief provided a justification, past tense. I said it's possible that it can provide a justification, and that's
which is kind of true. Like, if you have this weird, like, spiritual belief in that everyone has a predetermined thing that they, like, a life path that they choose, which will eventually lead to their death, spiritual reason, you can then retroactively justify any amount of barbarity or any amount of atrocity by going back saying, well, actually, you know, it was just their predetermined path. They spiritually chose that. You know, sure, maybe you'll get punished and after the said event has taken place. But if you have this, you know, this spiritual justification for it, that still makes the bad thing happen, right? That's the point Hunter's making here. That if you, for example, say that all the people who died in the Holocaust chose it, that is then tacit endorsement of another one happening in. And also, I don't even think Hitler was an atheist. But even if Hitler was an atheist, or we changed it to some other genocide that happened by atheistic people, right? For example, in Ukraine, the Holodomor or something. If in this particular, there's nothing to do with the atheism of the people involved. There's no atheistic doctrine that states that these genocides should have taken place. Whereas it's just the person who did it happens to be an atheist. Which is the difference to what Karlyn is saying here, and what Hunter is accusing her of is saying, well, the explicit prescriptions that you're making with this belief system can then be used to justify atrocities moving forward. That's the point Hunter's making here.
That's what one of the dangers of this belief system seems to be, that you provide a level of justification for people that are committing heinous acts. Just if that's never happened on a large scale on a fucking genocide, doesn't mean that this is not a potential problem with this belief system.
Well,
so
unlike atheism,
you are actually being bad faith right now by demanding I provide this like hyper-specific thing and then saying Hitler was motivated by atheism to commit the Holocaust.
Atheism, there has not ever been one single mass atrocity in human history attributed to my belief system. Hitler was an atheist.
Is this all you have?
Atheism justified.
Everyone who's been subscribed to No Justice on Twitch for 3 months chose that before they were born because they collectively wanted the experience of ultimate oppression. True! 100% true. Welcome. Thanks for rejoining the No Justice stream today.
The Holocaust, therefore your belief system justified the Holocaust more than mine.
Congrats.
I said, there's no real, like Hitler wrote a lot about his Christianity, Catholicism. But even then, there's nothing up. Even if he was an atheist, there is no specific atheist prescription that led to that, right? They just happen to be they happen to be happening at the same time. They're coincidental. It's like you could do exactly the same argument for saying that Hitler's vegetarianism would cause the Holocaust. They're completely unrelated. There's no connection between any kind of prescription that one's made to lead to the next one.
I guess you've never done the Holocaust. It's just that what you seem to be getting at right here is ultimately that they are making a decision to be holocausted on spiritual form, which in the only logical follow-through...
Everyone makes every decision.
Yes, and the only logical follow-through there is your desires are being filled out by someone else, even if it's a heinous act, which provides a level of justification. That is what I'm getting at. That's it.
Hitler was an atheist. Atheism justified the Holocaust.
All right, well, I can definitely say that this conversation your belief system has resulted in a genocide of my brain cells, so thank you.
True, 100% true. Well done, Hunter. Although, please, Hunter, please, I am desperate to put a border around your font. That's clashing so hard, so badly with the background that you're streaming onto. Please, just put a black border around the Hunter Avalon. It'll look so much better, I promise. Please, from the bottom of my heart, I would love you to do that. So, that was an interesting level of justification that we've got there from Karlyn. But it does not end there. I think she was having some kind of argument or whatever with a bunch of conservative people. Not a Christian, she has these whatever spiritual beliefs. So she's pro-abortion when a lot of these people are all anti-choice or whatever, which led to a stream which is called Surviving Cancellations and Ruminations on Conservative Influences Protecting Bad People. Because she was claiming that she wasn't claiming that. She was claiming that the conservatives were cancelling her, but she was just getting into a bunch of shit. Anyway, I'm sure she will expand upon these in this video we're about to watch. So let's bring it up and have a look at what she has to say for her in light of recent controversy.
Hey guys. This is a little impromptu late night stream. Victor's going to be thrilled because I probably should have been downstairs like 2 hours ago. But I have some thoughts about things that I wanted to kind of get out while they were fresh in my mind. So I'm just going to give people a second to kind of file in. I just did a stream with Spectre tonight over on Twitch. Spectre is a leftist, but I like him. I think he's a cool guy, and we've always gotten along. And we had a chat tonight, and it was actually like a really, really, really civil conversation. And he, said some things that, honest to God, I hadn't really thought about them in the way that he said them. I thought about them in like ways that had waffled around what he said, but he really put it very succinctly. And I wanted to talk to you guys about it and have a little conversation. I'm really not going to be on for that long. Not going to be on for that long at all. But I've been basically getting canceled last 2 days because I said something about that people choose their death, and then someone said, "Oh, is that true of aborted babies?" And I said, "Yes." And it's people true of. Okay, let me back up. Let me back up to give context because someone's going to take this out of context. I was in the midst of having a discussion about spiritual beliefs and moral codes, and I said, "I think all people choose when they die, everyone in every circumstance." And then someone said, "Well, is that true? Do we have a moral obligation to outlaw abortion?" And I said, "No, because we all choose when we die." And they said, "Is that true of murder victims?" And I said, "Yep." And they said, "Is that true of people in the Holocaust?" And I said, "Yep," because I believe it applies to everyone in every circumstance, good, bad, otherwise. It was a spiritual discussion. And then that got taken out of context and I got canceled. And you know what? The thing of it is like it absolutely started with conservatives and then leftists migrated into it and behold the whole fucking rigmarole. And I'm fine. I am fine. I cancel proofed myself.
It's the whole pants filled with shit argument again, where it's just like you fill your pants full of shit, and then a leftist comes up and says, "What the fuck have you done? Filled your pants full of shit? What an idiot!" And a conservative goes, "Yeah, no, you have to shit your pants there. What the fuck?" And they go, "Well, if both sides are criticizing me, I must be doing something right."
Over a year and a half ago. So there's like nothing that people can do to like actually cancel me. I haven't said anything against YouTube standards, so they can't deplatform me. I haven't said like locals is obviously never getting deplatformed. I cancel proofed my proper business over a year and a half ago. Every single contract I have has cancellation clauses written into it. So even if a client cancels me, I still get paid the full amount. I just don't have to do the work. So it's like pretty rad. Yeah, I saw someone say that I work for PragerU. I have never once received a paycheck from PragerU. That is completely false. That has never happened. Yeah,
Did you just go in the video for free? Just like I feel like distributing conservative propaganda. Just I fucking feel like it. What's the point in that? If why sell your soul away to a bullshit philosophy that you didn't otherwise believe in, unless you were gonna get some moolah off the back of it? I don't understand.
Nuclear. Come on, you're not going in. Come on, nuclear. You and I have been back and forth. I caught you talking shit about me. You apologized. You're not breaking up with me, please. Please. No, but it's been bad. Like they've been distorting what I've been saying in every possible way. And here's the thing: is again, I'm not worried about this from like a business perspective. I'm not even worried about it from a personal perspective. But I want to talk a little bit about getting canceled and how I think you survive it because probably many of you will actually go through being canceled at some point. Now, I've been canceled a lot. I don't even know. Maybe I've been canceled like 5 or 6 times in the last year alone and all by the right.
Do these people just think that being cancelled is just someone coming up to you and says your views are shit? That's bad. Like, is this the level of discourse that we have now, where instead of cancellation being when huge amounts of people on social media call you out because of various things you've done to abuse your position as a person of influence, that otherwise you've been untouchable, or is it now just someone on Twitter said I was an idiot? Is it just like some people on Twitter laughed at me for having a crap take? Is that what being cancelled is now? Is that how far that we like? Is this like the nadir of cancel culture discourse at this point?
All by the right in the last year. Every single one of them. In 2020, I got canceled like 3 times by the left, maybe once by the right. Actually, I don't even know if I did get canceled in 2020 by the right. I think I only got canceled in 2021 by the right. Anyway, I don't even remember. Sometimes you block out bad memories. But I want to talk about what I've learned about surviving cancellation because I think a lot of people are deathly afraid. They see something happening like this to someone like me and they get deathly afraid. They try to scare them into submission to shut them up. Let me tell you something. Being canceled is not that bad. Now, I say that being very lucky.
True, 100% true. And finally, someone admits it. It is not being cancelled is not that bad. Like, not like plenty of people who go on to get cancelled. They position with which garner media attention to whether their career. Funny, just after Dave Chappelle gets cancelled for his takes, suddenly he's got his contract renewed with Netflix. Who knew? What weird what a weird coincidence to happen. As soon as he gets cancelled, he has this, oh, she's all in the media everywhere. Strange that.
That I have always worked for myself when I've been a public person. I understand that. If you lose your job and your ability to pay your mortgage when you're canceled, that is a completely different thing. Most cancellations don't happen like that. At least not like what I've experienced. What most
Because most of them aren't cancellations. It's just people saying you're an idiot on the internet.
cancellations are is getting like mean tweets and messages for like a day or two, and then it dies down and you never really hear about it again. That's what happens in most cases. Most cases, it's a couple days of nonsense, and you hear
Spoiler alert, that means you weren't cancelled.
from the most ridiculous possible people that you could hear from, and they continually gaslight you and try to convince you. Here's what I hear: I've supported you from the beginning, but this is just a step too far. From people who I have never heard of or talked to before. I look at the names of people who leave comments on my stuff. I look at the names of people in my locals. In my locals, I actually see them on Zoom. I'm going to be seeing them on Zoom tomorrow. I look at the names of people who reply to me on Twitter, not all the time because sometimes I get a lot of replies, but I do consistently peruse the replies. I consistently peruse the comments. I know exactly who supported me from the beginning and who hasn't. They come into the comments and they lie. That's like one of the first things that happens. They reply to you and they like, I've always supported you. I've always been your biggest fan. Never heard of you. Never seen your picture. Never seen your screen name. No. And the reason they do this is firstly to try to gaslight you. But the other thing they're trying to do is trying to convince other people around you that your fans are abandoning you. They're trying not only to gaslight the person they're trying to cancel, they're trying to gaslight everyone else around you. They did this all the time. When the white identitarians canceled me back in June, holy shit. Holy shit, did they do this.
I'd like to point out, that's not gaslighting. That's just lying. There's a difference between the two things, right? It's not like there's like some person conspiring to change your own memory of past events. That's not what that's like. That's got gaslighting in. That's just somebody lying to you, just someone fabricating something. These are not the same thing, right? I hate the way in which everybody across the political spectrum in the online space just misuses that fucking term. So it basically has no meaning anymore. It means people who are genuinely victims of gaslighting, for example, in some kind of relationship, which is the vast majority of the time that gaslighting actually happens, people aren't going to take it fucking seriously. Just like the boy who cried gaslighting.
And so they make you believe that the problem is bigger than it is. They try to make you believe, especially like when you're doing something like me and you like, numbers and stats are like a real thing. They're like, you're going to lose thousands of subscribers. And I have in the past. I have lost thousands of subscribers, but most of them are white identitarians, and so I'm not really that upset about that. But like, they try to fool you into believing that your life is over. So today my Twitter was filled with comments from people saying, we're going to get your state license revoked. I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. I don't require a license. I don't need a license. I had people all the way up and down my Twitter, though, saying, we're going to get your license. We're going to contact the state. Go ahead, contact the state. Do it. So they lie to you.
To be fair, the amount of like nonsense said when she was having that discussion about work, I would not be surprised if her incredibly kind of specific line of work does not require any kind of license structure. I would believe that 100%.
They try to gaslight you. They try to make you feel like this is a bigger problem than it is. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll create multiple accounts, or many of them will have multiple accounts because like I'm not the first person in the world they've canceled by a long shot. So they'll have like multiple accounts. You'll get messages that look exactly the same from multiple accounts. It's a show. It's a smokescreen. It is. They're trying to make it seem like it's worse than it is. And their goal is to shut you up. You have a choice about whether or not you want to allow them to win. You have that choice. The number one rule when you're pushing back against these woke ideologies, and there's woke on the left and there is woke on the right, probably
just the word woke has just lost all meaning. It's just lost all meaning. I like woke has just being used as a replacement, word for the like groupthink and things like that. And people who have a great deal of moral certainty. It's just that's what these people mean when they say woke. Now, if she's saying there's woke on the right as well what she's basically meaning is that there is some kind of ideological orthodoxy you have to ascribe to, and if you somehow go outside of that, then people will move away from your content. You know what? That's fine. A lot of people's content is not going to be for everybody. If people don't want to watch you anymore because they disagree with you in some kind of axiomatic way, they'll stop. Who cares? That's not what being quote unquote woke is. I guess not in the kind of colloquial sense as we have today, rather than the original. usage of the term from way back when or whatever. So just the way in which the word woke has just kind of been destroyed by discourse so much. It's just like, oh well, like I saw someone who said that the Taliban were woke, or that some, what was it? Some Bin Laden was somehow woke because he was anti-imperialism. I was just like, I give up. Like the media is just kind of lost at me in this.
Everywhere in between, is that is that you never bend the knee to them. You never give in to them. Now, my tweet, some could argue that it was inartfully worded. Now, when you see the tweet within context that they pulled it out of, because it was taken out of context, it looks a lot worse than it looks in context. Some could argue that it was inartfully worded, but is an inartful tweet really the reason that they're canceling me? Is that really it?
As I said, no one was cancelling you. People just laughed at a ridiculous thing that you said on the internet. It's fine. I've said dumb stuff on the internet, and people replied to me saying, "You're an idiot. You shouldn't have tweeted that." And I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Should have stayed in the draft. Whatever. I move on with my life. I'm not lose. I'm not. My income's not being threatened. My position as an internet quote unquote influencer with 3 viewers, as one might well expect me to be. That's not been called into question by a dumb tweet I made. Get a grip."
Nah. You have to know emphatically that even if you could concede that maybe I could have worded the tweet better. Maybe I could have worded it better. I don't actually believe that's true because I believe it was perfect within the context it was in. But even if you believe that, you never bend the knee and you never apologize. Because if you give in to the mob once, they will forever have you over a barrel. This is the worst part of being canceled is the mindfuck. Because you might believe that if you act like a reasonable person, the mob will act like a reasonable person with you. But what you have to understand emphatically is that the mob will never be reasonable. The mob will never relent. It doesn't matter if you give them what they want. They will always want more blood. They will always want more blood. It will never stop. And if you apologize, they will know that they have power over you. Because just like every training that we watch every single week on this channel, it is not about race. It's not about anti-Semitism. If they actually cared about anti-Semitism, they go after actual anti-Semites, which we'll talk about in a second. It's not about any of these things. It is about power. It is only about power. It is always about power.
But I think she actually said, I think she's probably pretty correct with what she's asserting here, that people are getting to these kind of online mob pile-on situations because it was that Aldous Huxley quote, which is like, the best way to strike up a moral crusade is to give people the satisfaction of being able to bully someone and feel morally righteous doing so. I forget the exact quote, but that's basically what I think she kind of grasped at. The idea of the kind of power, the feeling of power that you get from being able to do that and feel morally righteous at the same time. Like, I think she kind of touched on something. We saw that with the ContraPoints kind of cancellation stuff, where they didn't really care what any kind of response. No response that she would have done would have been able to absolve her in these people's eyes. They just wanted her like away from the screen. But I don't think this has happened in her case. Really, I mean, I guess maybe maybe my echo chamber is so watertight or so airtight, I guess, that I didn't come into contact with what conservatives were saying about this particular whatever. The problem is it was kind of so deranged and weird. There's like a wild out there take. I don't think actually many people were that offended. I think many people were just like, "What? This doesn't make any sense." Because it was so beyond the realm of like normalcy you'd expect from someone who was going to say something bad. The people just immediately kind of disregarded it as being ridiculous, rather than taking it in any kind of form of seriousness. But again, I've not seen like another conservative reaction. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I think she is right in that if people do try and cancel, just do a voice and you just fucking ignore it. Like, you just literally just say your piece or whatever, and then you just go on with the rest of your life. And I guess that's why other people still hate him so with such kind of like a virulent hatred for somebody like, because like he doesn't care about the people trying to cancel. He doesn't respond to kind of the moral grandstanding that put upon them in this. But I don't. Again, I've not seen happen with Karlyn and
If you allow them to think for an instant that they have the ability to control you, to control your words, and if they control your words, they control your thoughts. If you allow them to think that for 1 single second because you feel the need to be a reasonable person, you need to put that perspective out of your head once you are in the midst of being canceled by these people. You have to put it out of your head. It doesn't matter if maybe you could have worded the tweet a little more artfully, or you could have done this, or you could have done that. They are trying to destroy you. And they're not only trying to destroy your job, your ability to earn money, your friendships, your relationships. They are trying to destroy your ability to think. I'm being canceled for a spiritual belief. A spiritual belief. A belief that I don't try to force on anyone else. A belief that I would never try to legislate. A belief that I've never asked anyone to agree with me and don't particularly care if they do. If they can cancel someone for a spiritual belief, they are literally trying to cancel your ability to think, your ability to have faith in something, your ability to see a bigger picture, your ability to.
Well, they're not, like, as Hunter was talking about in the clip that we previously watched. It's not trying to cancel your thoughts. It is about putting into perspective potential ramifications of the belief system that you hold. For example, like, people don't cancel Muslim because they think that the idea of somebody being Islamic is bad. I guess some people kind of do on the real fringes, but most of them don't. Most of them do it because they have they have this idea in their head that the belief systems that Muslims adhere to might lead to some kind of terror attack, which obviously doesn't borne out in the data or whatever. But then that's at least the level, the kind of the logic route that they've gone down. People who engage in Islamophobia, right? That's what they've been taught through kind of this kind of media apparatus that try to push this particular perspective on. And when we go back to what she's been talking about with his own beliefs, Hunter was saying, like, well, if you are, as I mentioned before, if you are of this belief that everyone has spiritually chosen their own point of death previously or whatever, if you then go and commit some heinous atrocity, you can then go your justification, your post hoc justification for this. Well, that's fine because they just chose to get shot by me. They chose to be part of my massacre. It's just part of their spiritual journey, which could be used in future to, be a post hoc justification for acts of extreme terror. That's the point at which Hunter was getting on here, and one of the things that I would agree with of criticisms of the kind of shit that she was saying in these tweets.
To exist outside of this mob rule environment that they have tried to create.
Like, like people who are mobs coming after, people who believe in the I Ching and its particular ability, the ability of the I Ching to be able to, fortune tell and to divine the future? No, because that doesn't have any potential, ramifications. The justification of atrocity. Okay, there's a reason why this particular take has gotten people angry with regards to your beliefs. It's not the fact that you just have a belief system at all that has caused people to react in this way, Karlyn.
You are under no obligation to accept the rules that they are trying to make you play by. You're under no obligation to live your life the way that they demand you live your life. You are under no obligation to believe the things that they want you to believe. You have no obligation to them at all. These people are trying to destroy you. Why would you give in to them? You stand tall. You don't feel bad if you didn't say anything wrong. And you never, ever, ever give in to them. And in a day or two, it usually ends up going away. And everyone forgets about it. And everyone is so focused on themselves and their own world that you usually don't even hear about it again. Maybe onesies or twosies, a comment here or there, a note saying, Karlyn, what was that tweet about? But usually you really, it usually goes away pretty quickly. And if you have surrounded yourself with good people, and this is where your friends and your social, you've got to be really, really careful about how you pick out your friends. I haven't lost a single friend over this that I'm aware of. Because all of my friends know this is bullshit. Or they don't care. Or they know it's being misconstrued. I didn't even have to explain it to, the vast majority of them. They're like, something's going on. If you lose friends because you were canceled and you didn't bend the knee to the mob, then they weren't really your friends to begin with. Jenny's getting inky with it. Thank you for the super chat. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing and them, a dead white man who knew of which he spoke. I'm gonna read this again. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Jenny's getting inky with it. Thank you. Thank you. Common Cure says, as a proponent of homeschooling, are you concerned that there are probably homeschoolers who teach their children lies about a certain event in World War II? Oh, yeah. Oh, big time. Oh, big time. Yeah, that's a concern. I'm not going to lie. That is absolutely a concern. But the reality is that I think on par, homeschooling does more good than it does harm. And, you know, I mean, listen, man, here's a spiritual reality. Lots of people have fucked up parents who fuck up their kids. Let's just be blunt here for a second.
What's that spiritual reality rather than just like some kind of objective reality? Because it is right, but what's spiritual about that? I have no. What she's been.
Raise your hand in the chat if you had fucked up parents that fucked you up in some way. I'm sure my parents did the best they could. They still fucked me up. Most people in the world.
This one goes out to my mum and dad, who I love and cherish. Thank you very much for being awesome.
Have fucked up parents that have fucked them up in some way. Most people in the world. If you didn't, I salute you and am happy that you dodged that bullet. But many of us did.
Yes,
and so it's a sad reality that, you know, I'm not going to say that all homeschooling is bad because some homeschool parents will teach bad things. That doesn't make any sense. You know? So number one rule when you're getting canceled is that you do not ever, 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 ever bend the knee. You never give in. You never try to act like a reasonable person, because the experience that these people are putting you through and trying to destroy your life and your ability to think is not reasonable. It's not. If you didn't say anything wrong, don't torture yourself. Don't feel bad. Shut off the computer. Go outside. Go shopping. Go out and eat a nice dinner. Go enjoy yourself. Live life. You have no obligation to be miserable just because these people are trying to make you miserable. You have no obligation to suffer just because these people are trying to make you suffer. You know, the belief system I have that people think is so, so weird. It's also the most empowering belief system in the world, because it tells me that I have the ability to control my emotions and my mood. And if I want to feel good, I can feel good. And if I don't want to feel good, I can, you know, allow myself to continue to wallow too. And that might be something I need to do for a little while. But if I want to feel good, I can feel good. In fact, it's my entire job is to feel good in this lifetime. I can meditate. I can burn some Palo Santo and smudge.
Also, that's why she changed her belief system. Realized that if you actually put any kind of critical thought into the way the world is, or then she'd somehow be very upset. And you know what? I get that. As somebody who, having read about, you know, the way in which the world is right now, it's really fucking depressing. So if her modus operandi is to adopt the political beliefs that make her the least stressed out and the happiest, then, you know, more power to you. Even if they're really incredibly wrong.
I can go do something that makes me happy. You're never under any obligation to suffer just because other people want you to suffer. You have the ability to control all of these things, and you have to know that you have the ability to control all of these things. You are not a victim if you get canceled. You made the choice on some level to commit the act that resulted in your cancellation, most of the time knowing that any random act that you contribute can result in your cancellation. Do you think I don't know that every single tweet that I send could result in my cancellation? I've been canceled like umpteen times in the past 2 years. Naruto says, even good parents screw up their kids. Yes, that's true. Even good parents fuck up their kids. So you made the choice. You are not a victim when you get canceled, and you can't treat yourself.
Wow, that is a pretty wild admittance from someone on the right there, to say that if you tweet out something cancelable, it's your own fault if you get cancelled. Which, yeah, it's true. The easiest way of not being cancelled is don't tweet out things that are bad. People will take effect. The rest of the whole population, like the normal population, just have this filter system, right? Where we'll think, okay, hang on a minute, no, I won't say that. That might upset people. Whereas the vast majority of like the online like kind of political commentariat community must be fucking insufferable to be around. Kind of walking around like, oh, your wife's a bit fat. oh, this lunch is shit. What absolute nightmare these people must be to be around, because they just like, oh, the thing about me is they always speak my mind. Like, that makes you a sociopath. Like, why not, take some responsibility for things that you do and say and the way people are going to react? I mean, come on. Really, really not hard.
Self as though you are a victim if you get canceled. Look at it as, if you're getting canceled, a whole bunch of people are paying attention to what you're saying. A whole bunch of people are sending a lot of energy your way. You can take that energy and harness it in any way that you see fit. You don't have to be miserable just because other people want you to be miserable. You don't have to apologize just because other people want you to apologize if you didn't do anything wrong. And just allow yourself to feel good. And just tell yourself you didn't do anything wrong. And just talk to people off of Twitter or whatever platform you're being canceled on. Talk to people off of Twitter or whatever platform. And there's a reason they're trying to cancel you. Talk to people off of Twitter or whatever platform. And there's a reason they're trying to cancel you.
That went well. For some reason, when I tried to adjust my headphones, for some reason it unmuted my Twitch stream that I was looking at my creator dashboard. Anyway, let's continue.
There's a reason they're trying to cancel you. And now let's talk about that. Because this is a question that Spectre brought up when I did a stream with him on Twitch earlier. If you're looking for that stream, it's on my Twitter timeline somewhere. For those of you who just joined, Spectre is a leftist, but he and I are friends. And I like him, and I think he's funny. And he's a nice person, and we've had good conversations. And he invited me on a stream. He's like, Karlyn, you want to come and talk about this insanity? I was like, sure. Because I knew he would have a reasonable conversation. We actually had a great conversation. It was a really good conversation. It was really good. But one of the things Spectre said to me, because Spectre and I have been chatting for a while about the white identitarians. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the white identitarians, you're going to want to watch the stream I did earlier today. Because back in June, just quick timeline, I know this will be a review for some, but we have people here that might not have seen the other thing, so we have to review. Back in June, I accidentally kicked the hornet's nest of white identitarians. I didn't know what I did at the time because it was all an accident. I started to figure out that the white identitarians were recruiting in anti-CRT groups on Facebook. They're called the White Wellbeing Movement, the White Positivity Movement. These are not good people.
Please just call them white supremacists. Please just call them Nazis. The colourful language you are using here is obfuscating the issue, which is that these people are fucking fascists. Like, again, I hate it. I hate using that word flippantly. But I think it's, if you're a kind of person who is trying to recruit for some, I guess, what she is calling white identitarian movement, I'm sorry, but that's just fascism. That's just white supremacy. That's all that jazz. Please just call it what it is. I know it will lose you some conservative viewer base to use what might be a leftist phrase. But unfortunately, it's just correct. It's what these people are. And it's incredibly true as well, what she's noticed here, that the whole anti-CRT moral panic that Christopher Rufo and James Lindsay and all these fuckers is specifically being used to recruit white people who are feeling uneasy by confronting systemic racism within the US specifically right now, and sometimes in the UK or whatever. People who are uneasy about confronting the reality of these pasts, the history that's led to systemic injustices that we have today that affect black people in the United States, right? They're recruiting these people to a white supremacist. The reason they are doing this, and the reason why they push CRT, and obviously it's complete nonsense. It's not actual critical race theory that they're actually angry about. It's general progressive anti-racist things. That's why you hear phrases like anti-racist is code for anti-white. That's a common phrase these white supremacists as a recruitment to try and move people away from incredibly fucking banal ideas of anti-racism that are incredibly popular amongst not only leftist circles but also kind of liberal idpol circles, right? It was a very easy recruitment. So it is not great having to confront a history that you played no part in, which is why I find it incredibly frustrating when people talk about the idea of CRT as if of critical race theory. They try and start that bit again. So when people think about critical race theory from like a liberal perspective, that kind of individualist mindset, they think that, and this gets repeated throughout the media, there are all of these different conservative channels. This ridiculous framing of gets framed as though what critical race theory says is that all white people are racist internally because they've made some kind of choice with it. In that just by existing in a society in which you are conferred some kind of structural privilege for being white, that makes you internally a racist by default. Right? They think that that's what CRT does, is trying to make people feel guilty about being white and trying to tell them that they are a racist and it's all their fault, which is a very individualist kind of liberal have a way of being able to look at some kind of systemic critique. Well, this has some individual effect on me as a person, and you're calling me a racist for being part of the system. Whereas what it actually is, as a structural critique, is the complete opposite of that. In any way, it absolves the individual of wrongdoing because it is moving the blame for systemic racism onto systemic issues and systemic reasons as to why things are the way they are and why these disparities between what happens to people based on their perceived race and why these things exist. The fact that it's a structural critique means that it's the opposite. People aren't being blamed for individually racist or should feel individually guilty for being white in the. And the fact that, as long as you are taking steps to understand what systemic barriers exist and what levels of privilege do exist, right? The fact that it is systemic and not individualized means that you don't have to worry. No one's calling you individually racist. If you have some kind of racist bias, that is not a personal indictment of you. It is a critique and a comment on the systemic factors and incentives that led you to have that point of view. It was a really great bit when I was watching Chud Logic covering the news launch or whatever, and they were talking about the people who booed the British players taking them during the Euros, right? And on this panel, Benjamin Butterworth said, yes, all these people are racist. Now, I'm not fucking telepathic. I cannot divinely understand the internal thoughts of these people with regards to how they feel intrinsically about different racial communities, different non-white communities, right? I cannot do that. I can't say these people just feel like white people are superior. But what I can do is say, well, is it any wonder these people booed people taking the knee during the football matches of the European Championship, when right-wing media has been demonizing them for so long for what they're doing and trying to codify supporting Black Lives Matter as anti-patriotic, anti-white, right? That's why the right-wing narrative exists, is to move it away from being a general statement against systemic acts of power, systemic power structures, systemic structures of privilege, and move it on to an individual critique of people trying to say that you are a racist. And that's why you see liberals like Benjamin Butterworth saying things like, oh, well, these people are just racist and we should just ignore them. It completely removes people away from the systemic incentives that lead people to believe those things in the place, right? So I don't want to have to deal with people saying, oh, CRT means that you're racist for being white, because that's literally the opposite of what it's trying to say. The fact this keeps getting brought up and it keeps getting obfuscated as a point really grinds my gears. I've probably said this before. I'm going to keep going on about it until this narrative changes.
They are people who are specifically pushing language into the culture that they want to use to recruit. I've laid this all out on multiple occasions. I got canceled by these people really badly back in June, like really badly. This was not a couple day cancellation. This was like a several week cancellation. It sucked. Cassandra Fairbanks was involved. And Ian Miles Chung was involved. Conservative fucking alt-right wannabe badasses that are really cowards that sit behind a computer screen all day. Like there were multiple different layers to this cancellation. And that cancellation led to me doing a lot of in-depth research about this particular group. And for those of you who have been following along since June with this story, this is something I have literally been screaming about since June, that these are real white identitarians. They're bad people. I've illustrated it on multiple occasions. They are overtly anti-Semitic. They're trying to infiltrate spaces that conservatives are in. They're using conservative blue check influencers. They're using conservative media outlets. I have laid this all out in painstaking detail over and over and over again. I have posted clips of these people. I have provided evidence. I have provided proof. I even provided that proof to leftist media outlets, by the way, that didn't want to cover it. But I tried. I have been one of very, very, very few people who for months has been calling out actual anti-Semites, because these people are extremely anti-Semitic. The irony of this, and I said this in the stream earlier, but I'll repeat for anyone who wasn't there, the irony of this whole thing is that the people who are canceling me call me an anti-Semite. The actual anti-Semites call me a Jew. These people call me a Jew all the time. Go on my Gab sometime. If you want to have a good time, go on my Gab page and just scroll back a couple months to September and just look at the replies on my Gab. It's going to be Jew, 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 Jew. Really bad word that means Jew that starts with K that I'm not going to say. Jew, Jew, Jew. They call me a Jew as an insult. The actual anti-Semites do.
Why can't you see it, Karlyn? What's gone on here? In that these people who've been recruiting so much that it has taken over the conservative, the conservative intelligentsia sphere, bar none at this point, right? The influencer sphere as well is just being completely dominated by people who are, are at the very least have, fascist sympathy, fascist apologia, at least not actual fucking fascists, right? I actually just think there's just some kooky awful people on Twitter cancelling me. Lol, isn't it hilarious, right? Glad I got through that cancellation. Rather than talk about, hang on a minute, these people are a poison on America. They need to be ejected from the conservative movement and they need to fucking go. Because that is true. Like, I can cope with, I completely disagree, but I can cope with just regular fucking, neocons or whatever, because we can just have discussions about econ policy. Talk about how econ policy that they do essentially causes people to die. We have to continue having this like fucking culture war discourse that's being driven by essential like fascists like people that she's mentioned here, like Jack Posobiec, Miles Strong, and Sandra Fairbanks, etc., etc.
They go after me all the time. Now I've kind of learned to swat them away like the flies that they are at this point. And I don't have any regrets about calling them out. No, I'm not Jewish. I'm not Jewish in any way, but they insult me by calling me a Jew. Not that there's anything wrong with being Jew. I love the Jews. Jews have great food. Amazing food. Anyway, so what was I saying? Okay, so what I'm saying is that I have been one of very few people that have been publicly calling out this group for months. Why is it? Every single time I have called this group out, every single time I have provided ample evidence of who this group is. Every single time I have provided receipts upon receipts upon receipts upon receipts upon receipts. Not one single blue check conservative will do anything to call out this group. In fact,
because that's their consumer base. They will lose half the fucking viewership because it's been so ingrained into the conservative mindset since, again, I guess probably since, kind of alt-right gamergators of the 2017 post-Trump election kind of fallout happened when people started moving over to really far-right positions, right? They've been the dominant group with which these people use, not just for a viewer base, but as a recruitment tool and a, at the ballot box as well, for example, like local candidates have to kowtow to these far-right lunatics to be able to win at the ballot box. It's completely consumed the conservative discourse at this point, and so much so that, like, kind of, I guess, close to the center neocons or whatever, like, what the fuck was her name? The one who got deselected from the Republican Party or whatever, Liz Cheney, right? But these people get fucking demonized because they're not radical enough. It's, that's what's happening. I can't believe that you think this atomized, localized problem rather than this this harbinger of doom for the future of democracy in America.
In fact, not only do they not do anything, they deflect, they rationalize, they explain, oh, I'm sure they didn't really mean it that way, and they aren't real racists, and they aren't really anti-Semites. And then I hold up a thing saying they're literally teaching children in public schools that the Holocaust didn't happen. And the conservative blue check influencers say, yeah, or they just don't even acknowledge it. They have rationalized over and over and over and over and over and over and over again for actual anti-Semites. But for me, I was having a spiritual discussion in which I was talking about spiritual beliefs in which I believe that people choose their experience before they are ever born. And yes, that includes their death. And yes, that includes everyone. And they took a single tweet out of context and canceled me as an anti-Semite immediately. Because again, this started with conservative blue checks. This did not start on the left. The left joined in afterwards. And you can watch the stream I did with Spectre earlier because he said the same thing. This started with the conservative blue checks and then the left joined in. So why is it that when I am one of extremely few people, and certainly the person with the largest platform, that has directly called out actual anti-Semites for months, and every single time I've done it, it's been ignored by conservative blue checks, and every single time they have looked at the content that I've shown them, they've deflected it, they've rationalized it, they've explained it away, but they're really willing to take a single tweet completely out of context and hold that up and say,
well, the issue is that the reason why people don't want to take anti-Semitism on the right seriously is because it's been kind of subsumed by the media to be this left problem, like this problem of the left. When you look at the way people are criticizing the way in which, I don't know, people like Jeremy Corbyn, people like Bernie Sanders, people like Ilhan Omar, the fact that a bunch of these people have been criticized for their being anti-Semitic, for having, I don't know, particular critiques of a certain state in the Middle East who definitely aren't committing acts of genocide and apartheid. Definitely not a thing that they're happening. No, absolutely not. I am not going to say that on the Twitch platform because it's not true, is it? Is it true? Is it? No, especially not in Minecraft at all. I wouldn't say that at all. Like, it's been used as this media narrative to deflect criticisms of the state of Israel, rather than what it actually should be, where we should be talking about genuine acts of anti-Semitism, like people on, I read plenty of people on the left who do it, who talk about like Rothschilds and Jewish bankers or whatever, when what they really should be talking about is, capitalism, which is the actual issue, and the systems of capital, rather than actually mostly doing a liberal critique where they say, well, it's the fault of this particular group or of these specific family of bankers who want to be Jewish, blah, 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 whatever. That nonsense anti-Semitism that people on the left engage in, or the when leftist critiques of Israel turn into anti-Semitism, where they try and conflate Jewish people to be accountable to the state of Israel, when that's not what it is. Like, the state of Israel is accountable only to itself, right? The people who are in the halls of Congress in Israel, in the Knesset, these are the people who you should be attacking. In no way is the state of Israel related to Jewish people, other than the fact that it was a state created for their protection, which I actually believe is probably a good thing, right? Considering the actions of what happened in the 1940s, there being a state which exists to protect these people as a group, as a racial group, I do not see an issue with that at all in the slightest. It's definitely a good thing that exists. The execution as such, then we can, the way it was executed, we can have a discussion about that. But I think the existence of such a state is fundamentally a good thing, right? From a racial perspective, not a religious perspective, from a racial perspective. Because from a religious perspective, that's when you get into all this fucking nonsense about there being some kind of divine connection to the Levant, which makes I digress or whatever. There's still plenty of people on the left who do engage in some level of anti-Semitism, should call that. But that is not the same as what passes for anti-Semitism in the media, which is people on the left say that Israel is bad for committing apartheid and committing genocide, and then they say, well, you're just being anti-Semitic because those people who say that, they are doing the real anti-Semitism here, as I mentioned before, where they are equating the state of Israel to Jewish people in general, but saying if you're critiquing the actions of the state of Israel in a complete vacuum, where it's not tied to the existence of the state as what it is, which is a state that exists to protect the interests of the Jewish people, considering the recent history of what's being done to them, right? Which reasonable, makes sense, perfect, absolutely fine, right? The people who then say, well, any criticisms what the state actually does with foreign policy is somehow a critique of Jewish people in general, those people are doing the anti-Semitism. Those people are making the equation between Jewish people and the state of Israel, which people on the left are not doing, right? That's why the anti-Semitism crisis or whatever, the anti-Semitism crisis in Labour, in the left-wing contingent amongst the Democratic Party, that's why that holds so much traction in the media. That's why it's gained, and that's what people focus on. Which is why when you see blatant anti-Semitism that comes out of, essentially the neo-fascist elements of the Republican Party, and to a lesser extent the Conservative Party in the UK and places like the Brexit Party and UKIP or whatever, it gets completely ignored, completely passed over, because it doesn't fit into that media narrative. despite it being a far, far worse exhibition of anti-Semitism than you ever get on the left, right? The left stuff is bad. Absolute 100%. Do not get me wrong. And the amount of bullying that people that did, like aristocracy was on the real bad end of a lot of anti-Semitic bullying. Luciana Berger as well, at the kind of the Mental Bully Boy Club, who tried to hold her accountable for the actions of the State of Israel or whatever. Now that was awful. That was terrible. But that's not as bad what's going on with what she's talking about here. But no one ever talks about it because that media narrative has been spun so heavily. It's so ingrained in the public conscious as being endemic to the left in specific, rather than something that is across all kind of political boundaries and is most worst and it's most insidious on the right. That's why people completely ignore it, and why the Conservatives have passed it up when she's brought up, because it doesn't fit into the picture that they want to paint of political discourse in 2020. That's what's happened.
Karlyn is an anti-Semite and she needs to have a wellness check. Why is that? Why is it that conservative blue check influencers don't actually care about calling out actual anti-Semites, but they're extremely quick to cancel me as an anti-Semite when I am the actual person who has been calling out legitimate anti-Semites for months? Does anyone have any theories in the chat? I'll give you a sec. I have a theory.
I'm interested to hear what she has to say.
I have a theory. They're controlled opposition. That's, I think, true. But I think it's more than that. I do think it's more than that. Yep. Jennifer Ellis, ding, ding, ding. This is what I think. The conservative blue check influencers refuse to call out actual anti-Semites that are proven to be anti-Semites. Like, I mean, some of the most overtly anti-Semitic things you've ever seen in your life. Not because they want them to succeed, but I think the conservative blue checks believe they need them. I think they believe that they need them. I think that conservative blue checks absolutely know that these people make up a chunk of their audience. When I first started talking about white identitarians and all of this, I lost thousands of subscribers. Thousands of subscribers. Thousands. Because I was calling this out. It would not surprise me at all, not one little bit, if conservative blue check influencers absolutely knew that a chunk, not all by any stretch, but a nice chunk of their audience is made up of people who would fall into this group. And they don't want to lose that audience because they don't want to lose that money, honey. That money is more important to them than anything. And then along comes this former Democrat with the weird haircut. And she doesn't pull any punches and she doesn't take any bullshit. And when she sees something is wrong, she calls it out and says it. And says, these are bad people. We should not be supporting these people. We should be denouncing these people. And she has not a huge platform, but like, you know, a fair-sized platform. Decent. Better than most. And all of a sudden, these conservative blue checks are put in a position where they either need to call out a chunk of their audience that is going to lose them that chunk of their audience and that money, honey, or they can pretend that that silly former Democrat with the weird haircut is crazy and talk about her psychological health on Twitter and just pretend that she's the problem. And then as soon as you have an opportunity to cancel that funny-haired girl, you do it without a moment's hesitation, even if you have to lie and cheat and take things out of context in order to do it. That makes a lot of sense to me. Every conservative blue check influencer knows I covered that story. You guys are asking me to name names in the chat. I'll name some names, fine. Nick H, they are no different than Al Sharpton. So first off, the conservative blue check influencers are extremely aware that I've been covering this. I know because a lot of them have been in my DMs. I know that. Now I'm going to name some names. Ian Miles Chung, still gray. Ian Miles Chung took the side of white identitarians back in June in order to own me, in order to attack me. He sided with these people. He continues to side with these people. And he's still doing it today. Ian Miles Chung is one of the people on Twitter who basically said, she's insane. She needs a mental health check after he, back in June, sided with white identitarians And I blocked his ass. He's been bitter ever since. You want another one? Cassandra Fairbanks? Cassandra Fairbanks isn't involved directly with the group that I covered. But oh my god, is she friends with Patrick Casey? It's not a good guy. Not a good guy. Cassandra Fairbanks is one of the ringleaders of the people who canceled me back in June. Never done a damn thing about any of this stuff. I never believed what they said about her. You know, until back in June, I never believed what they said about her. I really didn't. I just thought that she was like this uppity bitch, and you know, she was like bombastic and spicy. And people didn't like her because she was like a tough girl, you know, whatever. No, she like, yo, go on her Telegram sometime. Go on her Telegram sometime. Holy shit. Oh, what other names do I care to name? See, I don't want to name the names that I actually know that they have good reasons for not doing this, that I've talked to, because there are some that I believe have good reasons for doing it. That's Siraj jackass with the list. That guy. Absolutely. 100%. Like, why? Why would you take something out of context? There are lots of others, too. I'm not going to name too many names because, like, I do wonder... I wonder how many of them are being useful idiots, to be honest, and... especially back in June.
Slave to the algorithm at the end of the day, right? We've all seen stories about how algorithms radicalize and how social media sites drive negative engagement because this combativeness drives continued negative engagement with people involved with the platforms to show them more ads, right? This is what these algorithms... It's not surprising that they've been pushed to radicalize. Generates the clicks and generates the revenue.
I hadn't done a good job of fleshing out the story at the time. I hadn't done a good job. And I have to own that. But there are a couple of them. Most of them tend to be, like, they tend to be more kind of like, at least like alt-right curious, like they're grifting into like riper territory. But the truth of the matter is, like, listen, I do not believe that the white identitarians that I've covered are actual alt-right. They don't consider themselves to be alt-right. They don't consider themselves to be on the right at all. They consider themselves to be completely separate from the left-right paradigm. But... what
would you call that? What would you possibly call that particular kind of political ideology? What would you possibly call that, rather than some obfuscatory term that they use to cryptically disguise their true beliefs? Wonder what that's called, Karlyn. Wonder what it might be called.
There absolutely are people who play to that space in order to make money that do not want to lose the support of very bad people. That do not want to lose the support of very bad people. They're more than happy to lose my support because I have forced them into a position of at least them feeling like they need to either call these people out or retain their support. So they're so quick to cancel me and take things I say out of context. Now, leftists, let's talk about leftists for a second. I don't want to leave the left. I know I'm harder on conservatives. I'm harder on conservatives, frankly, because I expect them to know better. Leftists are like completely unhinged lunatics for the most part. Not all of them, like I said.
You've just been talking about fascists. Literal, actual fascists trying to recruit into white supremacist movements using like cryptic recruitment tools by, through critical race theory, moral panics, right? You said you've been going this for weeks, right? And you're calling leftists the unhinged ones? What the fuck have you been smoking, Karlyn?
I was on Spectre's stream tonight. Spectre's a leftist. I consider him to be a cool guy. We just disagree. But leftists who cancel people tend to be unhinged lunatics. And so I don't hold them necessarily to like the same standard as I hold conservatives. I hold conservatives to a higher standard. Sorry. Life isn't fair. Not everyone gets a pony. But leftists have no excuse here either because, again, I am one of if they actually care about anti-Semitism like the way they say they do, A, they wouldn't be arguing to bomb Israel off of the map.
Whoa. That, for Twitch moderators, that was her saying I'm reacting to it. That was satirical and in Minecraft, and I do not endorse any of those views. Absolutely.
But B, if they actually cared about anti-Semitism and racism like they claim to care about anti-Semitism and racism, then you would think that they would appreciate when someone goes out of their way to actually call out legitimate racists and legitimate anti-Semites. Oh, but
no, I agree. It is good. I'm 100% behind her for calling out white identitarians on the side of the conservatives, right? Just call them what they are. and stop tiptoeing around it and going, oh, well, it's just people doing bad racism stuffs rather than this existential threat to, you know, the fabric of American society, which, if it continues growing at the exponential rate that it is doing so, we're going to see more synagogues and mosques get shot up like they have been already.
By the way, another name, Carrie Smith from Unsafe Space, that bitch, Mikey Harlow as well. Both of them have repeatedly sided with white identitarians over me. I'll call them out. Don't care. I've actually seen both Carrie and Mikey on Twitter talking with the same white identitarians in their comments as I covered in my article. Exactly the same people. Exactly the same people. They may not have known, and I can grant them that. They may not have known because they hate me so much that they ignored the information that I put out and then cozied right up to white identitarians who came into their comments to try to do the same thing they've done to other people. It was fascinating to watch. It was like, you see me put out this article, you see Carrie and Mikey Harlow, Carrie Smith from Unsafe Space and Mikey Harlow like hating on me on Twitter. And then like clockwork, the white identitarians I wrote about in that article creep into their replies and they start cozying up to them. And because Carrie and Mikey don't actually know what they're talking about because they haven't actually looked at what's going on, they start replying to these people as though they're just like normal everyday people, even though if they had read my article, they would have known clearly who they were talking to.
It's just all a grift. Just all a grift, right? Just admit it. Admit these people do not have any specific policy platform or any kind of specific ideological bent that they want to see represented. They just want clicks and money and fame. That's all they care about. They do not care what ridiculous social movement they help cultivate to do.
I'll call them out. Yeah, I used to be friends with Mikey. There was a lot of backstabbing that happened, and not on my side. And he's threatening to make a video about me. Mikey, I'm scared of a video that you make about me like I'm scared of getting a hole in the head. Sorry, not sorry. But no, I'll call them out too, because it's like the classic example of like, why do you, like, if you claim to care about this stuff, then why do you actually hate me more than you hate really bad people? And this is the other excuse that I got from conservatives too. They're like, well, Karlyn, of course we're not going to share your content about anti-Semitism. We hate you. If you actually care about anti-Semitism, is it going to matter if you hate the person who did the research? If you actually, like, this is true. Like, I've heard from today from conservatives, because I did my anti-Semitism challenge, because I know full well that not a single one of those blue check conservative influencers that tried to cancel me and call me an anti-Semite, not a single one of them actually cares about anti-Semitism. It's all bullshit. So today I started the anti-Semitism challenge to try to get these people to actually share information about actual anti-Semitism. I don't even care if they mention me. I don't even care if they mention me. I just want them to share the information so that people know. But their excuse for not sharing it is, well, Karlyn, we can't. I mean, come on. We cannot share information that you put together. We hate you. We don't like you. If you actually cared about anti-Semitism, would you care if you were BFFs with the person that gave you the information? I sure as shit wouldn't. Not everyone's meant to be BFFs. Not everyone's meant to be friends. But I think the real answer is they know. I gotta wrap this up. They know that they are making money off of really bad people, and they would rather keep their paychecks than do the right thing. I absolutely believe that's the case. And then they make excuse after excuse after excuse for why they won't do it. And none of those excuses actually mean anything if you actually care about anti-Semitism. Oh, I didn't call out the left, actually. I think I got distracted. Let's talk about the left. If the left actually cared about this stuff, maybe I did. I don't know. It's late. If the left actually cared about this stuff, they wouldn't be canceling me over this. They'd be canceling the actual anti-Semites. But
the left people weren't canceling you. They just thought your tweet was dumb. It was very, very dumb. Your belief system is strange. Let's put it that way. But no one cancelled you over this. On the left, at least, from what I've seen.
The left doesn't care about it either. The left doesn't care about racism. The left doesn't care about anti-Semitism. All the left cares about is canceling a woman who did a PragerU video, which is ironic in and of itself, because PragerU, these people go after PragerU all the time because they're Jews.
The Wilkes brothers are not Jews. Dennis Prager is Jewish, right? The Wilkes brothers are not Jews. What the fuck? Which were the real people, the real benefactors for the existence of PragerU, the Wilkes brothers, and not Dennis Prager himself. He's just the face of the channel or whatever. That's not why people attack PragerU. People attack PragerU because they put out dogshit misinformation. What the fuck? Really wish you just put the fucking dots together. Join the dots, Karlyn. It's not hard. It really isn't difficult. Oh dear lord, because she's absolutely right in that all of these conservative blue chicks or whatever, the reason why they are so permissive of anti-Semitism is all about money and clicks. And she's absolutely 100% correct, and they know that they cannot disavow these people without losing a big source of their revenue and their viewer base. Right? They understand this, and I was very surprised that she has she's adeptly called out for what, right? Wonderful character. But then to just say, well, the left hates PragerU because they're Jewish. What the fuck? Where did this come from? Doesn't make any sense. The third to have such a poignantly pointed and incisive critique on conservative anti-Semitism, and then to just go, oh, the left is bad because they hate Jews or whatever. Incredibly frustrating.
So you're telling me that the left, who wants Israel bombed off the map,
no one. There have been people who have said that on the Twitch platform previously. That has definitely happened. It is not a large portion of the left who want what she just said to happen, right? Let's be real. What they really want to happen is for them to stop making incursions into Palestinian territory and killing fucking children, right? That's what the vast majority of the people on the left want, right? I've already said my piece about the media narrative around left-wing anti-Semitism, so we'll leave that there. But safe to say, her point here is
left, who doesn't mind that actual anti-Semites go after PragerU all the time. The left, who claims to care about anti-Semitism but doesn't really seem to like Jews all that much. You're telling me they're canceling me, the person who has been one of the people who has consistently called out actual racism and actual anti-Semitism when no one else on the right would. Not that
I mean, I'm willing to bet that a lot of people on the left just haven't engaged with the content that she's put out that's done that. If that exists, then bravo, well done, more power to her. And we, remember that debate that happened with her and Blair White against John Doyle and Lauren Fitzger. Like, she was clearly the voice of reason in that debate. That debate, more than Blair White and way ahead of John Doyle and Lauren Fitzger. Like, she's clearly somebody who identifies as a conservative or whatever, who is at least approaching reasonable and intellectual, in comparatively with the rest of them, right? Well, I'm welling because obviously YouTube is run by algorithmically. I've gone all there before on there talked about there before. Most people on the left probably have never even encountered any of her content, right? If she is as forthright in her condemnation of fascists on the right at the moment, then more power to her, and I'm glad at least somebody on the right at this point is willing to be able to put that into their content, but despite the fact that it would lose them viewership. So very well done. But you can't blame leftists for not having interacted with that content before, when the vast majority of the people who would even get recommended her content on the YouTube platform are going to be people who are already engaging with right-wing content.
that I consider myself to be on the right. You're telling me they care about anti-Semitism? Please. Please. The lesson of this is that none of the people who tell you, if you don't see people calling out actual acts of anti-Semitism, they don't give a flying fuck. They don't care. What they care about is maintaining their position. What they care about is their money, honey. That's what they care about. On both sides. So that's the stream I'm going to do for tonight. I hear Victor walking. Victor's like, what the fuck is she doing? Well, why is she still online? She was supposed.
Well, that was an interesting look into the events of the past couple of days with regards to that pretty wild tweet thread. And I must say, I am very surprised. I'm very surprised to find out that there is at least someone on the right who has a fucking midge of integrity. I guess I shouldn't be surprised it is her after that debate that with her and Blair White, where she was trying to say, well, we need to pull the GOP into the 21st century, where the rest of the GOP are saying, no, we need to make sure we want to pull ourselves into 1930s Germany. Interesting content nonetheless. I was not expecting it to go in this direction. I was expecting her to be it to be a defense of the spiritual beliefs that she was outlining in that incredibly strange tweet thread, but nevertheless, that has unloaded a bunch of things that I was not expecting to see. So, well, there you go. You learn something new every